Welcome to today's video. Today we're just going to go through an example problem of using the graphing calculator to solve a word problem. So here we have an example of John Drysdale purchased a home in 1987, and the home that he purchased it for $350,000, and in 2002 it was worth $559,005. And first it says find a linear equation that represents the value of the home H in terms of the calendar year Y. Well, the value of the home in terms of, this is always going to be X, whatever's after the in terms of. So this is going to be what you would think of your Y value. So even though the calendar year Y, that is actually the X value. X value is the year, the value of the home is the Y value. So in 1987, the home was worth $350,000. And then in 2002, the home was worth $559,505. Alright, so there's your 2 points. So now we can write an equation by finding the slope minus 350,000, 2002 minus 1987. So here, 2002 and 1987, when you subtract, you get 15. Here, when you subtract 559,505 from 350,000, you get 209,505. And then when you divide by 15, as it shows in the calculator, you get 13,967. So that's your slope. And then when you put it in the point slope form, so you have y minus 350,000 equals 13,967 times x minus 1987. Not 1989, 87. Then you distribute so when you distribute, you get 13,967x, and then when you multiply there, you get 27,752,479. So then you add 350,000 to both sides. Oh, one too many zeros. And when you do that, you get that y equals 13,967x minus 27,402,429. So that is your equation for part A. And that's in terms of using the year and the price. For part B, it says find a linear equation that represents the value of the home, so this is your Y value, in terms of the number of years after it was purchased, which is X. So basically, 1987 would be year 0 because you purchased it in 1987, so that's 0 years after it was purchased. The home was purchased for $350,000, and then in 2002 would be 15 years later. It was worth $559,505. 505. So you use those points for part B, and you do the same thing. You find the slope. So you go 559,505 minus 350,000 over 15 minus 0. And notice you're going to get the same thing. You're going to get this over 15, which equals 13,967. And then you put the point in, so you get y minus 350,000 equals 13,967 times x minus 0. And then when you distribute and add the 350,000, that's 35,000, 350,000, it equals 13,967x plus 350,000. So this would be the equation for part B. So now in part C, it says, in how many years after the purchase of this house will it be worth 856,000? So it wants to know years after purchase, so we're going to use equation B. So our y sub 1 is 13,967 x plus 350,000. That's our y sub 1. Our y sub 2, because the value of the house is 856,000. That's a y value, so that's our y sub 2. Our domain, well, remember, it's years after the purchase of the house. So we're going to start at year 0, because that's when we purchased the house. And then you have to think, realistically, how many years will you own a house? Maybe at the most, 50, but just to be safe, we'll use 100 as the end. And then the range, the house can be worth 0. And then since 856,000 is the y value, you want to go above that, so we'll use 1,000,000. All right, and that's the range. So then we get out the calculator and we type these things in. So you got to clear what you did already. 1397x plus 350,000. One more 0. Y sub 2 is 856,000. Then we got to do the window. From 0, the x maximum is 100. And then 0 to 1,000,000. Then you graph. And notice you want the lines to intersect somewhere. So if you notice, it didn't intersect. So let's check to make sure what we actually put in is correct. And I mistyped this right here. So if you ever do that, go second function and then insert, and you can just insert the number instead of having to type it over again. That didn't do it because I had put the wrong number. So let's go second, insert. Let's put a 6 there, and then a 7, and then let's eliminate this. Sorry about that. All right, there we go. So now let's graph that, and we should get our intersection. That looks better. All right, so notice our intersection there. So remember, to get it, you go second function, trace, and then intersect. And we'll hit enter, enter, enter. And notice we get x, because that's what we're looking for, the number of years that it takes for the value to be 856,000. It's 36.22 years. Or we'll say 23, since we'll round to the nearest hundredth. So in this answer here, we get 36.23 years. That's our answer. All right, part D, it says, in what calendar year will the home be worth 1,000,000? So this is where we want to use the calendar year equation. So y sub 1 is equal to 13,967x minus 27,402,429. Now, our y sub 2 is 1 million, because that's what the home is worth. And then we want to do the same thing. We'll use now our domain, because we started in 1987, so that's our starting point. And then we'll do like 100 years, maybe 2087. And then our range from 0 to 1.5 million. And then you type that in your calculator. So now we got to type in a different equation. We can use the 13,967, but now we have to do minus, and then it's 27 million. $402,429. Then this is 1 million for y sub 2. Got enough zeros? Nope, one more. And then our window we have to change, because remember the x minimum is 1987, maximum is 2087. And then we have to make it 1.5 million. So there we go. So now graph it, and you should get an intersection. And so you go second, trace, intersect, which is number 5, and then you hit enter 3 times. And notice it gives you the year 2033.5. Well, there's no decimals as far as the year, so in the year 2033, that is when it's going to be worth $1 million. So that year. So then in part E, it says in 2025, what will the home be worth? So this is when x is equal to 2025, right? Your y sub 1 is still going to be here at 13,967x minus 27,402,429. And then their domain and range are going to be the same. And here you're just going to type in trace 2025 and then hit enter, and that'll get you your answer. So let's go do that. So what we have to do is clear the y sub 2, because we're not trying to find that. We're trying to find the x value, or actually that's what we're trying to find, is the y value. So then we graph it, and then we go trace, and then 2025, and hit enter, and that tells us in the year 2025 it is worth $880,746. That's what it's worth in the year 2025. For part F, it says, what will the home be worth 75 years after it was purchased? So after it was purchased means we have to use the original equation of 13,967x plus 350,000. Our domain, remember, was 0 to 100. Our range, we're just going to go from 0 to 2 million, just to give us some room in case it's worth a lot of money. And if, actually, let me show you what I would do if it was worth $1 million, just to show you what would happen. Let's say we put $1 million there. Okay. And so then we go in our calculator. So we gotta make this 350,000. we can delete that. Okay. Our window is from 0 to 100. And then let's say we went from 0 to 1,000,000. And we graph it. But notice there's when we go trace and then 75, notice it gives us something above our range here. It gives us 1,397,525. So if we want to see where it is, we'd have to change our window to 2 million or 1.5 million. And then notice now it'll show up when I actually go trace 75. Even though it gave me the answer, now I can actually see it on the graph. $1,397,525. So you might have to, if your range isn't big enough, just go a little bit higher for it to show up on the graph. All right, I hope this example was helpful, and we'll do more of this in class.